Countdowns are stupid. Hey, what is going on, guys? Happy Sunday. It's your boy Vlhadus here. It's been a very busy weekend. Had the parental units here. A lot of really cool family stuff going on. Thresher, dude, what's going on, man? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Tomatic, how are you doing? Yo, yo, yo. Undead. Sir Ozington, how's everybody doing? Levio Jima, Joseph. We got Evie here. We got Pockets did the first. Dude, welcome, welcome, welcome. So this stream, I wanted to react to Bespoke, which this is a pretty short Bespoke episode. And then I wanted to get all the questions that I've already gotten and go through these Steven questions that I have. I think about 22 of them, and see if some of those questions are even still because I've had these questions for a while. See if they're still like actually relevant today. If they're not, then I'm just going to delete them and then start thinking of questions I want to do. There's feedback questions I want to ask them. There's like Alpha 2 related stuff. I know Livio Jim has said what percentage of the overall game will be tested in phase 1 and 2. A lot of stuff that, I think that's a very valid question, by the way. Another question I would love to ask is are there going to be more phases than just phase 1, 2, and 3? I think that's another really good question to ask as well, because in my personal opinion, I think there should be. I think there is still so much left of the game, even after phase 3, that was not even mentioned. So I think, us getting some sort of a, oh yeah, there will be a phase 4. This is what it'll include, phase 5, phase 6, whatever the case is, right? Or it could just be like, no, phase 3 is the final phase, because the rest of the game will be tested by a like a solo testing house, right? And that's fine. Like if that way we only get a certain percentage of the game that we'll test, but I think we should test a lot of the very pertinent systems, which I think is going to have to be node related and also profession related. That definitely has to be tested, which that is definitely going to be a thing. But yeah, we'll get into all that stuff. I already got the episode already pulled up here with Bespoke. And let's just get straight into it, right? Let me see. I know my questions are still not answered. I worry that the underwater content might be too much, and I don't mind if it comes after release. Yeah, I think a lot of stuff they might save for patches after the release of the game, right? So if there's like a, I don't know if you would consider the if it's 1.0, maybe that's totally, how the numbers will be. And then like the 0.5 or whatever the half patch is going to be, or whatever the case is, like, I'm sure like that's probably, we're still years away from that. So we'll still get into that. Let's get into the video. All right.
Is the scope of Ashes too ambitious? Will Intrepid be able to deliver everything they've said?
It's beyond Steven to say, okay, we just can't do it. We're going to launch the game with what we got.
We planned it to be massive from the start, which might make some people feel better.
They've stayed pretty on point.
I want to know why this question or why this segment is so short, because I feel like this is such a loaded question, and I think there's so much to be said about it. So I don't know. I mean,
with
why was it so short, Burns?
What they've said they're going to do.
You always look at ambition versus time spent developing.
Even if it doesn't turn out to be what they're saying it's going to be, I think it still has a chance of being an amazing game.
As of this moment, from what they've
Here from the Narc stream, hey, well, join in, man. We're just literally going to watch Bespoke. I'm going to give my reaction to it, because is Ash's creation too ambitious of a game? I think that's a great question, and we're about to hear the discussion of it, so welcome, welcome. Let me see, more Compium is always good. Absolutely.
showed us, I think they are...
Is the scope of Ashes too ambitious? Will Intrepid be able to deliver everything they've said?
It's a great question.
It is a great question.
I think they will. deliver everything that they've said, just because I we were talking about hubris a little bit earlier, and I think it's beyond Steven to say, okay, we just can't do it. We're going to launch the game with what we got. As far as too ambitious for scope, for me, it's nodes, obviously, and naval, right? And you said it. What you said in your last video about the nodes is what I've been saying for years now. Is there's 85 of them with 6.
There used to be 103 of them.
Levels of content each, handcrafted. That is insane. That you're basically creating 85 mini games within a massive game.
Yeah.
Can it be done? With all the dungeons and all the quests and the landscape changes and the story arcs that open up, like that is so much handcrafted content.
Yep.
That I just can't see that being completed in any reasonable amount of time, especially because even now we still have not seen a fully functioning, not a single one leveling up, working as intended. So that to me is very ambitious. And then obviously the naval side of it. I like to reference Sea of Thieves. That's a whole ass game that took them 4.5 years with a team of 200 people to make. And even Sea of Thieves, with all of its effort, launched as kind of an empty shell. There really wasn't a lot of content there in the very beginning. That's a whole ass game. And Ashes wants, I never played Arcade, so I can't speak to Arcade. Well, I did play Arcade, but I never did their naval stuff, so I can't speak to their naval stuff. So, but it's, it sounds to me that the naval content we're going to get, unless it takes another 10 years, is going to be mediocre at best. It's not going to be what everybody wants it to be. And that's just because of the sheer scope of it, what it really entails. Like, Sea of Thieves is the perfect boat game for me. You get to sail around, explore some islands, fight some sea monsters, and fight other players. And it's great. But again, it took forever to make. So I'm worried about that. If they wanted to come out and say, hey, all of the super sea monstery stuff and all these sea nodes and the underwater exploration and all the stuff we're told it's going to have, if that's like an expansion down the line, I would personally be okay with that.
So
I just want to say, and I've said this before in my videos. I've said this many times on my podcast. Ashes of Creation is literally a base game plus 4 or 5 expansions as a foundational game. Because it's, people do not understand just how big Ashes of Creation is. And even though, as someone who's been with this project since probably 2020, realistically more 2021, but I was there with the whole Lazy Peon video. That's when I got my interest peaked, was during, of course, July 2020 with the whole infamous Lazy Peon video. But understanding now the game dev side of things and what realistically needs to be done, I would be fine if they undercut a little bit to launch the game, to launch the stuff they undercut, and didn't just remove it completely, but shifted it to like maybe the first or second or even third major patch, of the game. Or even just say, hey guys, like, we're sorry, like, we're going to have to probably release this in our first expansion. You know what I mean? Like, again, this game is so big. Now, from the things Steven has said is that he doesn't want to do that. And if time needs to go, he will always choose more time than trying to rush out the game. Like we've heard Steven say this in countless occasions during many of his interviews and podcasts and just him talking about the game, right? He's very adamant about the current scope and what they want to do. However, you also have to take into consideration is that Steven isn't infallible. And it isn't just Steven anymore. Like, because if it was up to Steven, we would still be launching in September for Alpha 2. We all heard, hey, everything's going good, everything's going great. And then when they finally said, hey, guys, we're actually going to get in October. So I think if rubber meets the road, there could be some things that his team would be like, we just need more time. But if you already want to launch the game, like, that's fine too, right? Ultimately, it's still really up to Steven. But I think there are some systems that are very ancillary that could just wait later. right? I think there's so much more foundational building blocks that I wouldn't like. Do we need to wait another 6 months to work on the stock exchange? Like, why? Like, if everything, like, to me, that's such a minimal part of the overall game. And again, I'm just making that as an example. Or even talk about monster coins, right? Like would we want to halt the game, the overall game, because a system like that isn't finished or needs more time, needs more fleshing out? Or could we just launch the rest of the game because the rest of the game is at a really good spot to be launched, right? Like, it's, and again, it's not always that black and white, right? Let's also be very clear about it, right? It's never that black and white in game dev. But if it was, like, I could see them making the argument for like, hey, let's just release it and we can release the, the Monster Coin event in it on our second major patch, or we can release the stock market on our third major patch or something like that, right? Like, I don't think it'd be a big deal in the grand scheme of things, right? Monster Coin is not supposed to be a minigame, but a balance versus big guilds, Oni and all know. Well, we kind of don't know. Like, again, like, all we know is that there's 3 tiers of Monster Coins, and these are kind of like world events. We don't really know like a lot about the Monster Coin system. The other thing we really don't know about is religion. That's going to be one of my questions that I want to ask Steven is, what is the actual gameplay of religion in Ashes of Creation? What do you do at a divine node? Like, seriously, do you just go like /pray and that's what you do? Like, I don't know. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see, right? I would love to be able to mine monster coins. I'll bet they'd be very rare. I hope they are very rare. I don't want monster coins or events like that to be something that people get sick of right off the bat. So, and because there are different tiers of them, I would hope that at least the very rare monster coins are only available in-game, because we do know that monster coins can be purchased at the shop, but we don't know what tier of monster coin are going to be available at the purchase of the shop. That's another question I would love to ask Steven personally. And so, once we figure all that shit out, I think we'll have a better thing. But let's hear what Annie has to say.
Based off of how the Kickstarter was structured and everything, they've stayed pretty on point with most of what they've said they're going to do.
Sorry, were you around for the Kickstarter? Did you guys kickstart? I forgot. No, you didn't, but you knew about it,
because
right?
we were broke. Yeah, we were around for the Kickstarter, but we were expecting a baby and all that stuff, so we had to put our money in the not fun places. But no,
I wouldn't have the money either if I knew about it in 2017.
And as far as I can tell, for the majority, everything they've done, at least like 95% of it, has been itemized in the Kickstarter. There's a few things, like obviously switching to Unreal 5, and I think them redoing the map as well was kind of off. But other than that, everything's been on plan. So I think they may not have known quite exactly what it was going to take to get what they wanted, which is why it's taking a little longer. But I don't think it's going to extend the project so long that it's no longer going to be relevant, which I think is a huge concern for other people. And there's not a massive amount of scope creep, which a lot of people like to say because they did not see the Kickstarter list.
No, yeah. There really hasn't been scope creep, to be honest.
Will Intrepid be able to deliver everything they've said?
You've just asked me a question there. Will they be able to deliver? Obviously, I have no idea. Now, I know one of the key things that a lot of people talk about is the scope creep in Ashes of Creation, but Steven's sort of been quite consistent that, hey, it's not scope creep. We planned it to be massive from the start, which might make some people feel better, but it doesn't necessarily make me feel better because, as you said, it's whether or not they can deliver
includes the universe.
on the things that they've added. And I think Alpha 2 is going to be a real test there. If they have delivered most of the key systems, and the only thing that they have to do from that point on is, add a couple of extra systems that aren't already in Alpha 2, and then
nodes, economy, which is professions for me, combat, class design. If they can release Ashes of Creation with those 4 systems completely intact, working as intended, full, customizable, everything that they've said on paper is all brought to life, I will be the happiest boy in the freaking universe. So freaking, like, just those 4 things. And I know those 4 things are big things. It's not, the node system is not small. Economy is not small. Class design is not small, because that includes augments. That includes all the trees and systems and combat. And it's a huge thing. But man, I think if those 4 things are in what I imagine being the stuff that I've seen from the wiki, holy shit. And that's not even including all of the other systems that are also working in tandem. Man, this is going to be a fucking game.
Add on the content, maybe the the very big scope will be feasible. One worry is that obviously, if it's not feasible, if it takes them a long time to add in these
Burns, why do you look so intense, dude? You look like you're about to like this is a man that you just bumped into at the supermarket and you didn't say excuse me. You know, like this is the gym bro you don't want to bump into at the supermarket, right?
extra features, then the game's going to take a very, very, very long time to release. So
that's his talk to me and find out face.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it's something they can achieve. They've got 200 odd people working there now. So yeah, it's a concern of mine. I think, there's a lot of scope there. And I think the key thing will be the content that they deliver after they've added those features. Because we don't actually fully know what's in Alpha 1. How much is going to be going in these other biomes that are going to come over time? What kind of effort does that require? What kind of time does that require? And what kind of time will it require to add in sailing? We've seen a little bit of sailing with the rafts and the caravans and stuff like that. I can't put any kind of amount of time on that. Maybe they've planned it internally and they know how long it will take, but for us, we don't know. We could be looking at, months, years, probably not a decade. I think that would be hopefully not a decade. That would be a little bit insane. I shouldn't even mention it. People are going to be like, Jay, how could you say that? But yeah, I think it's a big scope. If they can nail it, all the better, right? Because that's what we want from an MMO. We want an MMO that captures, as we said, going back to like one of the previous questions, is going back to that feeling that they can be a place to live in. I think that's one thing that I think we're seeing from MMOs recently is we're seeing snippets of MMOs. And I think Ashes of Creation is trying to do not everything in the universe, but it's doing a lot more than just a snippet of an MMO. It's
like a small universe.
MMO, it's a full MMO. And they're taking the time and hopefully doing it properly. And I think that will separate it. So hopefully the scope's not too big because we want the game to come out ideally soon.
I thought about this last night after you sent me these two, and it's
Richie.
I'm glad you think about me at night.
Yep, he does. He texts me every night too.
Looking at it 7 years ago, at the start, I would have said, yes, this is extremely ambitious, and I don't know if they can pull it off. But today, with Unreal Engine 5, and even the stuff they've shown us with nodes and node wars and caravans, and all of it finally coming together, it's too ambitious has kind of gone away from me a bit. And now I'm thinking, all right, well, what else are they going to do? Like, you're showing this going to work, but, like, what else can you do with that? How are you going to take that further to the next step? So I think as time goes on and we get into Alpha 2, and we'll really start to see how it shapes together and if it actually is truly too ambitious, if they're going to do everything they promised. But as of this moment, from what they've showed us, I think they are right on track and they're going to deliver exactly what they said.
I think it's very ambitious.
That's a good point, Richie.
I think when you look at stuff like this, you always look at ambition.
Look, I will say, like, I think Richie is... I think they will want to deliver on what they said they wanted to. But I would not be shocked if they did have to push some things back. And again, those some things I think are going to be totally ancillary. I think like as an example, naval. I don't think they're going to say, hey, we're going to actually launch Ashes of Creation, but the naval system isn't going to be at the start. That I think is a completely far-fetched idea, and I don't think will ever happen. But again, with a lot of the more ancillarial things or systems, I can see them pushing back certain systems that really that are more kind of add-ons than they are as integral as some of the other more important systems. But Ashes of Creation is massive. Ashes of Creation is the most ambitious MMORPG at a foundational level to ever be attempted to make. And what really upsets me sometimes is, you know, when I get into comment sections or whatever, and they're like, oh, but they've already been working on this game for like 7 years and this is all they have to show for it. It's like, dude, well, then you go make a game. You go do it. You know, it's like, bro, like they literally have a huge like slate of content and systems and features. And you look at any other project that has come out from AAA game studios that has way less systems and always end up failing. So why are we getting upset for a company that wants to take their time? Like that, that's the mindset I don't understand. Is we've seen AAA studios rush things out, and then we get all up in arms because they're rushing shit out. And then when a company is saying, hey, there really isn't any kind of end in sight, people are like, oh, well, they've been working on this for so long. It's like, why have they been taking so long? It's like, bro, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't with these people. I don't get it. Like, from my perspective, I always told them, let them cook, let them do what they do, because I would rather have a freaking game that is actually finished to the completion of what the vision was supposed to be than some half-assed, half-baked attempt of an MMORPG that ends up failing a month later. Because that's what we've been getting. It's sad. So, I don't know. Maticus, dude, thank you so much for that. I probably completely butchered that name. I apologize, dude. But thank you so much for the follow, dude. Thank you, and welcome.
Ambition versus time spent developing. I don't think it's too ambitious. I think they can accomplish what they're attempting to accomplish. I just think it's going to take time.
TNL took 12 years, not 10.
I expect it to be quite a few, well, not quite a few, but a few more years until the game actually comes into live development. And it's longer than most other games are in development. They obviously have less developers.
But for how long? Forever? Yes, forever. Forever. This could be Star Citizen. Dude, if we're in 2035 and they still need a couple more years to finish Ashes of Creation, just let them. Why not?
I think the time versus ambition is there. So
I'm gonna say yes to it being too ambitious, but I think it's probably good for them to shoot for the stars rather than limit themselves. So I do think it's a little bit too ambitious. I don't think they're going to necessarily pull through with everything. I think there's far too many systems and mechanics, and it's way too complex of a game for it to fully form the way that is being portrayed to us right now. But I think even if it doesn't turn out to be what they're saying it's going to be, I think it still has a chance of being an amazing game. So, you know, you can fall short of the scope that you set or the top that you set, and it can still be in that category of being an ambitious game.
Well, I also just want to say too, it's like Intrepid is taking all the steps necessary to make this game as fast as they can too. Like, they've been continuing to hire on more and more people. And most of the time with projects like these, especially like indie projects or Kickstarters or whatever, it's hard to find developers. Like, it just is. And every live stream, they say, hey, we've actually hired on 10 more people, 15 more people or whatever. And they've continued to grow their team, which is also a really, really good thing. And for me, that just bodes, more people, that means that we can get this game out like 3 months sooner, 6 months sooner, whatever the case is, right? The more that people can get hired at Intrepid to help these teams get out this content, the faster we can get this game out. So to me, I feel like Intrepid is taking all of the steps necessary to make this game as fast as possible, because Steven could have easily been like, oh, we have 150 people, we can't hire or afford any more, so that's it. Like, that, we're not going to hire any more developers because that's it. We've met our quota with developers. That's that. Then you would see people, I think, getting more frustrated, like, oh, why is this taking so long? It's like, well, they only can hire 150 developers and they already hit that mark, and, they can only do so much with the people they have, right? That could be the excuse, or that could be the reason. But fortunately, that isn't the case. They're continuing to hire. They're probably going to want more. And the more people they hire, the faster they can get this game out.
What in specific do you think is ambitious that might get scaled back?
I worry a little bit about the open world content once again, and all the group related activities, and there not necessarily being enough players in the world at a given time to be able to handle the systems that players want to engage.
Dude, what is up, Planet Orf? I didn't see you. My God. I hope you're having a great weekend, man. We're just here just looking at the newest bespoke. You know, our little if you look into the soul of this man, you will you will be further intimidated. Yeah, our boy Burns. No, it's been great, man. Hope you're having a good weekend.
With. I don't know if that's a correct opinion to have right now with my knowledge on the game. I talked to Vlhadus about this, and he had some opposing opinions on that, and he thinks Intrepid's going to be good with that. That's just kind of like my initial thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm actually right there with you, because they talk about going for castle sieges, right? They talk about, and we saw one in Alpha 1, they talk about wanting to make those 500 versus 500. But if you have 10,000 people max concurrency on a server, you're talking 1/10 of the server population in a, you know, the castle siege, which, so I mean, the castle sieges are 2 hours long. There's that would be fascinating to see, because people are going, not everyone, like, I mean, like myself, for example, you know, married, kids, some things will arise where I'll have to leave unexpectedly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to have more than 1,000 people to participate in that castle siege. So
personally, I want castle sieges to be like days events, like not even 24 hours. I'd want it to last like 3 days, like 72 hours straight. And there could be times that the castle, like, it gives every party a break, right? So there's like, even though it's live for 72 hours, there's like maybe 6 hours that the castle goes down and barricades itself or whatever, and people they're all thrusted out or whatever. I don't know. And then there's like, okay, we're back in the game or whatever, just to kind of force breaks to happen kind of thing. But I think this game should be known, just like how in vanilla World of Warcraft, how Alterac Valley was known for being that battleground that you could literally do for days. And it was a shit ton of fun back then, man. I'm telling you, I have still to this day, I've heard stories of people like summoning the big old boss there and, you know, going and just constantly killing Alliance. And then when they finally get a victory, you have like thousands of kills. Like, it just, I feel like Ashes needs to be known for those kinds of events and those kinds of things, because those kinds of things are going to be the thing that is going to be talked about throughout the stratosphere of the MMO community. Like, huge.
Oh, yeah, that number just seems high. That seems overly ambitious to me. And my guess is that it stays at max 250 versus 250.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that, with your concerns on that. Hopefully Intrepid has a plan to scale things back a little bit if things don't go as planned with player numbers and things like that. If they have a plan for that, then they can probably make it work.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, nothing that we've seen is beyond the scope of what they've ever said. I mean, they're taking things like the systems that they want to have in, they're taking them to the next level. They're executing on a high level with those systems. But the word scope creep has no place with Ashes, because there's no, oh, now we're adding this system, and we're adding a system where you guys can play musical instruments now, and they're not adding a bunch of extra systems that nobody asked for. So yeah, I agree.
Ooh, I would like to see limited resurrections, maybe each person 3 times or something, but it would dwindle after a while. I think 3 times is a little too little, personally. I think like 10 times would be actually, like 5 or 10 times, I think might end up being better. But I can see that, honestly, I can, because it would also give other people, like, and once you have died, maybe your cooldown is you can't go in for like 6 hours or something like that, right? So it's like, it kind of forces you to like at least participate in the battle, but you can't be in there like the entire like 72-hour mark, right? So it gives like even the best players like the downtime to not be in there. So you have to be, again, it offers another layer of strategy into when do you want your best players to go in and leave their mark, right? I think that would be actually really interesting, especially if the castle siege is going to be hopefully instanced, which, again, you know, I've talked to Burns about this. I don't think castle sieges should be in the open world personally. I think those things should be something that you do in an instanced. but all that stuff has to be tested. Like we got to test, like there's so much stuff. And I know anytime I say instance, people may get all like, oh no, Vlad, that's a dumb idea. But I also feel like in the sense of it actually feeling equal, this is the same kind of thing with the node sieges. Node sieges, in my opinion, should be instance too, because how then are you going to say it's a 250 versus 250 when there's 700 people on one side and then, 150 people on the other side, right? So it really, really just depends, right? Like if you're going to say this is a 250 versus a 250 battle, then let's have it be that, right? And the only way you can truly accomplish it in a game like Ashes where everything is open world is to put them in an instance together, right? Let them duke it out. But all that stuff has to be tested, Agreed.
Right, or even the ones that people are asking for.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for scenes from next episode. With 80% of dungeon content being in the open world, will dungeons be a Zerg and or gank fest?
What is
Yes.
to stop a single guild from saying, we want all the resources, we're going to control this dungeon?
I've always
Nothing.
geared more towards
Nothing.
liking instance content.
The loot is not going to be based off of the amount of people in the group that get the boss down.
People start figuring out the metas of things.
As you advance through the area, less and less people will be able to get in specific areas.
You're probably not going to like my answer to that. Is that
Dude, great episode. I already gave it a like. You give it a like, give it another watch. Make sure to sub to your boy Burns. Yeah, I think when it comes to the whole open world, dude, the stories I've heard from people that played Lineage 2 or Arcage was a lot of the dungeons, a lot of the places were locked down by guilds or by certain organizations or whatever. So there was some stuff you had to pay a toll. Like they owned it, but it's like, yeah, you can go inside if you just pay us. If you don't, we're going to kill you. Like it was just stuff like that, right? I think there's a lot of people that, again, they kind of don't understand the game that Ashes of Creation is going to end up being comparatively to like World of Warcraft, right? Where if you want to do Shadowfang Keep or you wanted to go to do a dungeon, there's nothing stopping you. You just get to the freaking dungeon entrance, go inside the instance, and you can do the dungeon to your heart's content. But there is no instance scene in open world content, right? So there is, like War said, there is literally nothing stopping a guild or an organization from being at an entrance of a dungeon and just killing people. Now, reputation will come into effect at that point, right? Because if enough people can't get in a certain area, those people are going to end up hated on their server, right? So if you're going to be obnoxious and you're not going to let people through, then that's going to only put a target on your back, right? So yeah, the troll toll. Exactly. So I still want to be able to trebuchet a dead cow over a castle wall. I mean, hey, Intrepid can do it, man. Intrepid can do it. What about corruption? There's nothing about corruption. Like, again, I think there's going to be people that are going to go in green and it doesn't matter to them. If that organization is saying no one's going to pass us and we'll kill you even if you're green, they'll do it. And this is, again, why I've been saying corruption in Ashes of Creation needs to have a pretty damning penalties attached to them. Because without those penalties, you're going to have people that are going to go 15%, 30% corrupted and be fine with it. And the more that is fine with a lot of players in a PvP kind of game like Ashes of Creation is going to be, it's going to make a lot of the PvEers feel like they're wasting their time playing this game because they can't do the PvE content they want to do because there's PvP involved. But again, this isn't a PvP game. This isn't a PvE game. This is a PvX game. There's both of them, both of those elements are going to be very much in the front and center of this game. But PvP, I think, is more predominant or dominant in a game like Ashes than I think the PvE content's going to be. I think the PvE content is going to be far more ancillary compared to the PvP. So a lot of these dungeons or any integral world spot whether it's a world boss spawn, whether it's a dungeon entrance, or whether that's a really lucrative place for loot as far as like gatherables are concerned, you're gonna have people or organizations or guilds take control. Like that is the spot. That is the game, right? It's not only just guild control, but territory control as well. Krem will kill you guys camping the dungeon. Well, and like I said, and there will be, and that's the other great thing about this game, is there's going to be things that people are, as people feel like they're not going to have the tools necessary. And I think Ashes of Creation is going to have tools for you to be like, hey, we're at this dungeon entrance and there's this guild like holding it hostage. Can anybody come help us? And, you know, when I talked to Flanker on our 1v1, the kind of stories that Lineage, when he was playing Lineage, like, dude, it got me really excited because there were things that ended up happening naturally by just gameplay that ended up spawning like guild rivalries and just like actual content for guilds. And this is totally outside of the mechanical go grind this or go, you know, find this pieces of gear. This was all just PvP that spawned for days, weeks, you know? And I think that's awesome. The fact that there's going to be things that people are going to want to do that will spawn these, like, you know, guild versus guild, or, you know, we want to own this territory, we want to do this. Like, that is the whole beauty of this game, you know? So I don't think that there's anything hindering people or from stopping people, even green people. Like, people are like, oh, what if a person is green? You know what I mean? Well, there's going to be people, a lot of people in my opinion, that are going to willingly go corrupted, willingly. But if the corruption is at a point where even killing once is enough for a PvPer to hesitate, then I think we're at a good spot. It just depends, right? Because again, I feel like if we up the corruption too high, you're also going to kind of alienate the PvPers as well, right? So where are we having to alienate? Because right now I feel like a lot of PvEers feel alienated about the PvP in this game. But if we go too hard on the PvPers, then like we're basically doing that. We're doing the same thing to the opposite faction at that point, right? Let me see, if someone gets too much corruption, then you can switch that person to the PvE farming groups and replace him with another group. Potentially, but there's also debuffs that corrupted players will go through that they may not even be that effective in PvE content, depending on what debuffs are on them, right? So we can make an argument if corruption should actually be just PvP related things, to where those debuffs are only towards player versus player, or if those debuffs are actually across the board in both PvP and PvE content, right? Because I've heard PvPers say that they feel like corruption should only be a PvP related debuff. So if I get stat dampened 10%, then I should only be 10% less effective towards PvP. So I can still do PvE completely fine, but my PvP is 10% less effective. I've heard PvPers say that too. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about corruption, PvP. I've talked to PvE people. I've talked to PvP people. I mean, it's, you know, you see, I think you'll find a good PvP guild who owns the castle should take it upon themselves to protect their interests, i.e. the PvE guilds living with their ZOI. Yeah, and again, I think there's going to be guilds with certain agendas that they're going to want to do, and they're going to focus on those agendas, right? But that's not going to stop someone from having the agenda of blockading a certain ZOI, or like, you know, a point of interest. Let me see. You read the second part of what I was writing before. Oh, I did. Oh, if it is at a farming spot, those people can be part of a raid, and since corruption is resolved via killing mobs, you can have half of the raid killing mobs while the other half killing players to allow a clean farming spot. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely do that. I mean, it just comes down to, again, what feedback Intrepid's going to listen to, because I know that there are a lot of PvPers that feel like corruption should be a PvP only thing. right? So that way they can, effectively do PvE content while being corrupted and not having, any kind of a penalty towards there. I'm of the mindset where I've got to feel it in game, because I think by going corrupted, at least my current mindset is now, I think corruption should affect both PvP and PvE content. I think you did something in the game that was, wrong, right? You committed, PK, you murdered somebody. And so you have to have on both ends of the spectrum, if it's going to be a 10% or a 15% or 20% stat dampening, it should be for both PvP and PvE related content. Because you did something and you're continuing to do something that is affecting you, right? And so I think if it only was towards PvP, you're not really going to, I feel like that isn't as punishing as it should be, at least in my opinion, as it currently stands now. I really want to be a hardcore PvP guild, which controls stuff and forces people to RP. Say thank you, my lord. May Shoal watch over you. Oh, there's definitely gonna be a lot of guilds like that for sure. I think there's also going to be, people that are going to, or a lot of guilds that are going to just do the things that they have the agenda that they want to do, right? I've seen guilds that want to go fully into economy. I've seen guilds like Loreforge that want to go into every aspect of the game, right? The PvE, PvP, the economy side. And again, like, you can have those kinds of companies that want to do it all, but are they going to be effective at doing everything, right? And there's going to be some guilds that know we're not going to be effective at everything. We're only going to niche into the certain thing. This is why I've seen guilds that are going to go solely into a singular profession. They're going to be known for, whether it's chopping down trees, or they're going to be known for naval, or they're going to be known for, assassination services kind of thing, right? Like being bodyguards, or doing all that stuff, right? Hired as mercenaries. Like there's a lot of guilds that are going to want to do a lot of different things like that. So PvP is balanced towards group settings. Oh, absolutely it is. Some classes are going to go far better in 1v1, by the way. Oh, yes. And I think that's where people are going to be really upset. People are going to get upset because they're going to be destroyed by a certain class in a 1v1 setting and realize, oh my God, this is so not balanced. And we're going to be like, yeah, it's not balanced at 1v1 at all. So there are going to be some classes that are going to totally trounce on other classes in a 1v1 setting. I think if you're not ready for that aspect, well, get ready for it, because that's definitely going to be the case. And now I think if there is a major outlier, right? Like if you're getting 1-shot or 2-shot, I don't think that's technically supposed to happen, right? But there is going to be massive advantages for certain classes towards other classes. This is the whole rock, paper, scissors approach, right? If you're paper and you're fighting scissors always beats paper in my head. So you're not going to have a good time fighting scissors when you're paper. But again, because you're paper, if you ever come across rock, you're going to have the same exact time, or same exact easily killing time killing rock as you are paper. I could just be the best 1v1 class in camp guild leaders, then disengage when they call for help. Well, yeah. And again, like, I think if that's also going to be very cool in the sense of, you making sure when you're doing something in the game to have a posse with you. I think a lot of hit players have gotten used to always doing shit by themselves. And this is a game where I feel like you're not going to want to do stuff by yourself. And I understand that there's going to be things where you're going to want to do stuff by yourself, right? But there are certain, I wouldn't say it's flaws, but it's like there's going to be certain weaknesses you're going to endure by doing stuff by yourself, right? Like, and I think if you're truly worried about PvP, there's always safety in numbers, right? Please, my lord, these bandits keep raiding my farm. We need your aid. Yep. Let me see. When does the alpha start? The alpha starts October 25th if you bought the pre-order packs that were before January 17th, 2024. If you bought a pack or any pack before that date, then you start October 25th. If you bought a key recently, then I think your first date is November 6th or something like that. So that's, basically the thing. Do you think there will be guilds or groups that walk the roads of Vera as a form of a guard? Oh, absolutely, dude. Again, there's going to be a lot of RP guilds in Ashes of Creation. Is PvP always on, or is it only with other warring nodes/guilds? PvP isn't toggleable in Ashes of Creation. So what is there is going to be a flagging system, right? So you basically can be here. Let me show this. If there are people that are brand new to Ashes or don't know, let me go here, because I think this would be a lot easier if I show you. So there is sort of like a flagging system. So everybody starts in Ashes of Creation as a non-combatant. Okay. This is a green player. So everybody starts out, when you spawn in the world of Ashes of Creation, you are a green player. Okay. If you attack another non-combatant, you become purple, right? So if you start to PvP people, then you'll become a combatant. Then once you are a combatant, you can do and PvP against other combatants at really no kind of a penalty, right? You'll still incur like death penalties, but you won't incur corruption. Now, if you are a combatant and then you PvP against a non-combatant, and that non-combatant does not fight back, right? So they don't turn purple, right? They just sit there taking all of the damage, taking all of the hits. If they die by your hand, you become corrupted. And corrupted players are now flagged to everybody on the map. Bounty hunters can kill corrupted players, and corrupted players, when you die, not only will you lose your gatherables, but you will also lose a random piece of equipped gear. So it is not a fun time to be corrupted. And the more green players you kill, the higher your corruption level will become, right? So think of like GTA 5 or whatever, right? And the more corrupted you become, the less effective you are as an overall player. Like, there's just a lot of stuff. Again, I would go, if you're interested, I would definitely go here and read more about player flagging. There's the link right there. The whole Ashes of Creation wiki, if you don't know about the wiki is a great source for any kind of information you are looking for Ashes of Creation. The exception is your node is at war with you and you're killable without repercussion. Yes, there are also world events that you don't have to worry about any of the flagging things. Like there's like caravans and stuff like that. So if you are going in as an attacker of a caravan and you are marked as a defender, then you can kill defenders all you want and there's no corruption penalty or whatever, right? Like it's like there are certain world events that you don't have to worry about any kind of the flagging. But for the most part, as a solo player, the node war will bring players into combat without needing permission. Yes. And like I said, there's a lot to explain when it comes to Ashes of Creation. So I would definitely, if you're really interested, there's a lot of information you can go and read. I saw that system in Darkfall get exploited. I'm okay with the system only if players from your town/alliance cannot attack you without a friendly request. Only without a friendly request to train/duel. So right now we kind of don't know how safe zones are going to work. I'm sure right now there is people testing Ashes of Creation currently, but we kind of don't know if you can kill somebody inside a node, right? And it's so hard to talk about PvP because people are very passionate about it. And I think this is why everybody should be leaving their feedback at the forums, right? So if you go to ashesofcreation.com and go to the forums page, and if there's certain exploits that you know from other games, when it comes to flagging systems like this, I would definitely leave them. But yes, there's not going to be a thing where you can designate yourself as a safe person and just not get engaged with PvP at all. Like, I want to be very clear about that. you like if you're out in the open world, you can die by PvP. But the only difference is, like, let's say in World of Warcraft, right? If you're out doing open world stuff and someone kills you, there's no repercussion for the person who killed you in World of Warcraft. You can just you can spawn cap somebody endlessly in World of Warcraft and get no kind of a penalty. In Ashes of Creation, there are penalties for doing something like that. So if you don't really want a PvP, then I would just stay green, because we're going to try to get the corruption to a point where you're not just going to want to willy-nilly be corrupted, right? Let me see. In WoW, you can just click a macro button and layer somewhere else. Oh, really? They've done stuff like that now? That's wacky. That's wild. Rocked it, dude. How's it going, man? Good to see you, dude. Hope you're having a great Sunday. WoW has no world PvP. If you are not in war mode, you are absolutely correct. But if you are in war mode, then there is world PvP. So it really just depends. In retail, WoW PvP servers don't exist anymore. Yes. Even in war mode? I mean, I was literally playing War Within with some buddies of mine, and there were people literally in war mode killing other players. Yeah, but retail has layers. Yeah, I'm talking retail. PvP is dead as fuck. Again, I don't PvP in WoW. WoW PvP is not my bag. It's just WoW's game design for me is more towards PvE because of the homogenization of classes. Classes in World of Warcraft have fucking every spell under the sun. They have a DR, they have a stun, they have a heal, every class has fucking everything. So because of that, I just don't care for the PvP in the game. Like, it's too homogenized. So I kind of don't care. So yeah, now in bed relaxing, dude. Awesome, man. So let's get into questions. So let me see what I have so far. Has the size of the metropolis increased given the world size expanded and a node count decreased? Okay, I can probably ask that one. Ballpark, when will we be getting more in-depth showcase on node types? Also, when will we have any kind of look at the rogue? Let me see. This question, I probably don't need to ask the rogue one, because I think that's going to be... I can probably leave it there. I mean, we haven't got a rogue showcase, but I would assume we're going to get a rogue showcase probably either in October or November, because we're going to get rogue in December, right? So, or maybe, I don't know. Like, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Let me see. I'd probably move it down some in priority. Oh, no. So these is not the first, like, this is not the order of questions I'm going to do. I'm just reading these questions. I'm going to switch all the order around. I just wanted to see what these questions were because I don't remember them. So I just want to see if there are any relevant ones. But I'm going to put categories, and then I'm going to put questions in those categories, right? So I think the first category that I want to start talking about is feedback in the Alpha 2, and just have a couple of questions regarding like feedback, because there's going to be some things there. So yeah, this is an old doc that I have for questions for Steven. So I just wanted to see if any of these were relevant. So let's just be clear. Let me see. Are there more superpowers to choose from for node type tier 6, or is one superpower all there is? I still want to ask that question. To me, that's a very good question. You loosely mentioned the possibility that a node could specialize in black market dealings, but there would be downsides in doing that. What would be those downsides? I feel like he answered this question before, hasn't he? I think he's answered this one. I got to look that one up. I'm going to make sure that those ones were answered. If not, let me see. Have they decided what the node superpower will be for divine metros? Okay. Why is that small? Let me see. The only downside I know is that the items will be that will sell for less. Underground catacombs and travel to vassal nodes. Yeah, I could have sworn I thought he answered this one. Can you expand on the topic of battle maps in taverns? Ooh, yes, that's another question I really want to know about. Can you explain why you chose 64 classes to an Ashes of Creation? Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one there. Let me see. Could you explain how players will quest in Ashes of Creation? I think that one needs to be reworded. I do want to talk about the questing experience. You see, how can you explain how players will quest? I think that's a better way to put it. Can you explain how players will quest in the first hour of Ashes of Creation? I think it'd be really interesting to know. Well, let me see. What can you do as a player within the first hour of playing Ashes of Creation? I think that's a better way to put that. Let's see, has the Bounty Hunter system undergone any changes? Will players leveling experience primarily follow a story? Let me see, will players leveling experience primarily follow a story question or be free form / dungeon farming? See, I mean, it being kind of like a theme, like a sand park, I think there's going to be a lot of introductory quests. I can see that kind of being the thing for the first hour. I think the sand park elements are probably going to come a little later, right? To be like, okay, now you're kind of free to do, like, we kind of got you on rails for a little bit, and now the rails are off, and there's a whole world for you to explore kind of thing. I think that's how I would see them doing it, but I could be wrong. What kinds of questing will there be before node levels? Okay. How are players' starting areas going to influence node progression? Won't have static starting areas artificially influence node progression, i.e. won't the nodes players begin in always be ahead? Well, I think they've answered that one, Michael. Basically, they said that the starting area nodes are going to have a lot more XP than the other, like, more outer nodes. So those nodes don't arbitrarily level first and so quickly, because they know a lot of people are going to want to, level those as close as possible to the starting areas, right? So that's what they're doing. They're going to basically, proximity XP. Thank you. Let me see, what will happen to an enemy node XP wise when I go there to gather / craft and process? Will they gain XP even if I don't want them to level up? Well, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think there isn't going to be a differentiating in-game reason because it's not going to know, oh, this is your enemy node, this is your home node. Like, I think if you're not I think even if you are a citizen of another node and you're in another whole area doing stuff like that, anything you're doing in that area is going to provide experience to the node you're doing stuff with. I don't think there's going to be a like a blockade. Now, I think what could happen is that because what they could do is, if you are a citizen of a node, then you get like a XP and a half, right? Because that is like your home node. So anything you're doing for your home node, you're actually providing more experience to your home node. But any other node, then you're just providing like regular experience, right? Like, that's kind of like what I would think, right? I don't think the game's going to differentiate that. But what is the incentive then to go outside my node? Well, the incentive is going to be that your node doesn't have certain gatherables. It's not going to have certain story arcs. It's not going to have like your ZOI is not going to encapsulate you to do everything in Ashes of Creation. Like, you're only going to do so much in your home node area. And if you want to do other things, you have to go and do it elsewhere, right? But like I said, I mean, when it comes to experience, there could be a gamey reason as to like being a citizen of a node and having a little bit more experience towards the node you're a citizen of comparatively to you not being a citizen. Then that could be something. If you are, and the other gamey reason, or the other gamey thing you can do is that if your node declared siege to another node, and you're at the node area of where your home node declared siege on, then there could be something that doesn't provide any experience towards your enemy node in that sense, right? Because the area of where your home node said, hey, we're going to siege your node, then you as a citizen could go to that enemy node and gather stuff and do quests there or whatever, but it's not providing anything to the node because your home node declared siege on it, right? There could be some very, I wouldn't even call that a niche situation, but that could be a reason of what they can do, right? I'm going to move to a scientific node. They have a limited teleport within vassal nodes ability, and they're going to focus on artisans. Well, yeah, I mean, there's, again, I think there's going to be reasons for you to go into scientific and economic. I think those two nodes are going to be the most popular because I think what they need to do is add way more to military and to divine. Because right now we kind of don't know. The only thing we know about military is they're going to provide bounty hunters. But that isn't as cool or enough for people to really make military nodes their home. We need to get some more things, more reasons why people would want to go and level a military node or a divine node. We just don't know what those reasons are yet. I'm curious in how the balance of node growth will play out on servers organically. We could assume the initial more popular nodes are going to be centered around the divine gateway spawns. Yeah, that also could be the case. Question: if the respawn points aren't protected from spawn camping, are there going to be anything the players can do to get out of that situation? Simple, a debuff. I think a debuff, like, so similar to World of Warcraft, there was a debuff whenever you resurrect at a graveyard. You provide no honor, you provide nothing towards a person killing you. But what you also can do in that situation is provide some kind of an immunity for like 15 seconds, right? So you are immune to PvP for 15 seconds. So it at least gives you some time to get out of that particular area. But again, the other thing they can do too, other than that immunity, is also choose, like, because here's the thing, in World of Warcraft, when you die, your body just goes to where the nearest graveyard is from your spawn. If Ashes of Creation could give you options to where, oh, there's like 3 graveyards I can spawn to, like, that's really good, especially if you want to be able to move from one spot to another spot. The other thing about that is that certain players feel like there would be people that would willingly kill themselves to fast travel. So it's really hard to do something like that, because again, even something like that might end up being abused, especially in a game where traveling is supposed to matter. So I don't know. No, that was just something I suggest. I literally just said that right now. That's nothing they're planning. We have to kind of get in there first to kind of see. But let me. I'm gonna put your question down, Cheetah. Give me a second. And please, if I miss your question, please just shout at me from the thing. Be like, "Hey, Vlad, you missed my question." This is your time. Like I said, my 1v1 with Steven is going to happen. So, Demos, dude, thank you so much for the sub, dude. Thank you, man. Really, really appreciate it. And also, Mononoke, welcome, dude. Hope you're doing great. Let me see. The wiki indicates that there will be safe respawn points, though. Yeah, you see, can a node change their type and how often? No, Michael. Node types are hard coded on the game. So let's say there's the node in the Riverlands. My God, what's Marilith? If Marilith is a scientific node, then Marilith is a scientific node. There is no changing that at all. Like Marilith will always be a scientific node. Have you dared to ask Margaret for a set date yet? So we're still working on dates. I think right now, because we're so close to the Alpha 2 launching next month, I think, again, if you go look like Jamie, Nice, there's a lot of people that have kind of been announcing stuff that's going to be happening soon. So there's a lot of potential interviews or really cool things that we're going to see from content creators very, very soon. So I'm excited, but no, I don't know dates yet. Like I said, I'm still working that out with Margaret. Let me see. You are a scientific node. I am a scientific node, Basin. Thank you, dude. Yeah, it's going to definitely be after Alpha 2 release. Potentially. I don't know. I hope before, but like I said, it could be in November, December. I don't know. A question I wanted to ask: What are the tools Intrepid is planning on giving players for us to decorate our player homes? Okay. Here, let me type some of my questions that I wanted to ask. Let me see. See what systems. Let's see. See, will you give players That's something that I have always appreciated. Like, especially in Alpha 2, what I kind of want is there to be like a couple of different servers. So you can enter into a server that is a real time, like what Ashes of Creation is supposed to be, right? So you can go through like an authentic leveling experience, like everything is as authentic as possible. And then there's another server you can jump into that is like a real test server, meaning you can level from 1 to 25 instantly. You have you have all these different vendors for all the professions, with gatherables, with this and with that. So if you want to just stay somewhere and test, like if you're a player that really cares about professions and you are like, that's what you do, that's what you're known for in a lot of other MMOs, then you can just sit in a node, look at all these recipes, make them over and over, see what kinds of problems are within these recipes, and live feedback on like, hey, this is something I would make this recipe better, or I think this recipe takes too much materials, like stuff like that, right? Like I think giving players tools and respecting their time, especially since you're only giving players Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to test, and especially in a game that is going to probably end up being extremely grindy. So I really hope Intrepid gives people tools like that. Example of tools would be things like ESO Z, XYZ access with full rotation and tilt kind of placer, an XY access for floor and walls, and I think that will last furniture manifest lost before we get into the RuneScape manifest list or prefabricated home. What happened to the items listed in the auction house if a node is destroyed? A sync or mailed back, or something else? Ooh, that's a good question. Let me see. A question I have: what are the effects of religion, and are the darker religions considered religions in the same way? Look, I kind of said yesterday, I'm not going to ask any kind of like lore questions, because I just think, and I know there's a lot of people that really want to know about lore. I think if you're very much into divine nodes or about the religion part, like I just, that's not a question I would want to ask Steven personally. I'm sorry. Like any other question I'd be totally down for. Like if it's anything else that doesn't concern lore. Let me see. I think the first and last options are least likely. You see, anyway, I will post it. What happens if a node gets destroyed and you had an auction house heroic item for sale and other important items? Do you lose them? Does locks during attack? Do you need to withdraw your items? I don't mean lore, I mean in-game effects. Religious augments exist. Oh. Okay, well let me put that a little bit more specifically. What are the effects of the religion augments? And let me see, and are the darker religions considered religions in the same way? Ezra, thank you so much for the follow, man. Thank you. And welcome. Is that better? Like, what are the effects of the religion? Well, honestly, like, I don't even know what the effects. I just think what a better question is, in my opinion, is what are the religion augments? Or, he's not going to be able to tell us. Can you give us an example of a religion augment? Yeah. Sorry if that's not exactly what your question is, but I think that's probably, as best as we can probably get it for Steven, right? To give him more context, because I think if I say if it's going to be as darker than the other religion, I think he might go more into like a lore thing, and I'd rather just have it more plain than that. Let me see. Do you have each node superpower planned out and ready to go for Alpha 2, or are they still up in the air for debate still? Okay. How can I be a dodge tank, Steven? I see. I've asked this question before during the AMA because I mentioned the whole play styles thing, and Steven says that there will have like different play styles. Now we'll have to see that from the augment system, but I hope dodge tanks exist. I hope life siphon tanks exist. Sword and board is going to exist, right? We know that, but there needs to be more than just sword and board, in my opinion. Let me see. Speaking of dodge tanks, we'll be getting some block and dodge resources. Yeah, isn't it stamina? Like you only have so much stamina to roll, because isn't it the same as like your roll, block, like the same resource of your roll mechanic is the same as the dodge and your block. Yeah, he already set the 3 types of tanks a while back. Yeah, I kind of feel like he did. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. I think Rose has passive ability to dodge. Well, and again, if you're a tank rogue, right, you can also probably have an augment that could allow you to go more so into the dodge part of things. But we'll have to, wait and see. Hold on. Let me read. Oh, hold on. I wasn't done reading all these things real quick. Let me see. Do you have any specific systems in place for the stock market to keep people from trying to... you see, I honestly don't want to ask that question. Do you have any specific in place? Because I feel like stock market, it's such a... That's probably even something they're not even thinking about right now. I think that'll be a useless question. Let me see. How important will bard buffs? Oof. I feel like this one has to be reworked. Because we know how bards work now. Can you explain how you are designing the AI for summons? Will there be extensive ways to manipulate your summons, or just a basic attack/defend mechanic? I think Levio asked that one. That seems like a Levio question, 100%. Will there be equipment, either singular pieces or set gear bonuses, that offers unique abilities that change how a class is played? If so, are there current examples you can give? That's good. Can you explain how punishing corruption is intended to be in Ashes of Creation? Can people live? That's also a good question. Can you go into the death penalty component of Ashes of Creation? Is reduction in loot drop rates from mobs still a penalty? I think that penalty is way too freaking much, man. Like, it's like Jesus. Is there any way to work off death penalties, or are they just timers to wear off? As I understood, each archetype will have specific utility abilities that will make them viable to gameplay. Just curious how many of these abilities we can expect per archetype, and then will those utilities just be per archetype, or will each class have something utility based as well? I'll keep that one. Will certain areas be safe spaces similar to nodes for new players? Will there be plenty of safe... I'll put safeguards. Will there be plenty of safeguards and nodes to protect players? Can you elaborate on the time frame it takes to level a node? How many active players is the time frame based around? Let me see. At what level can players earn/ride mounts? Do you have to buy a mount skill in order to ride a mount? We will have to earn an equivalent item in order to apply a bought cosmetic from packs. Can you give us an example of how it works? I.e., are there item levels that need to be equal, or is it rarity that matters? Yeah, that's also a really good question. Will there be any class trial systems to try out with different archetypes once you hit level 25? I'm going to delete that question because there is not. can there be more than one metro in a will there be can there be more than one metro in a castle ZOI? That's also a good question. Why are all these like small? There we go. Okay, I think those are all like the newer questions so far. Do achievements count towards node progression? That's a good question. Well, let me scroll up real quick, making sure I don't miss anybody. Let me see. Are there any plans to expand? Damn it. Where's the undo button? Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Is Steven going to talk on stream soon? Yes. How soon? I don't know. But Margaret let me know that she did not forget about me and that Steven is going to be on the 1v1. And it is soon TM. So I have to get a list of questions to her so she can verify, and then we can then try to set a date. So that's what I'm trying to do. I want to get this list out to her by this week. So that's my goal. Agreed. I think going red should take either consecutive player kills, or if a green player comes to find you, they will not remain green if they enter combat. Instead, they will be identified as a combatant because they are actively seeking you out rather than you seeking them out. This forces a green to contest over a resource rather than you making go corrupted to defend a resource. So you kill a green and that green comes back, and they don't remain green if they are attacked by you. Let me see. Does Firebrand stay persistent in the world if a raid group that summon him failed to kill him? Or is there a despawn timer? Ooh, that is a good question. Okay. What is the gameplay of religion in Ashes of Creation? I don't know. I've always wondered that. What is the freaking gameplay? Like, I've never played an MMORPG with religion in it. So what is the gameplay there? Is it just quests? Like, I don't know. Did anyone ask how Intrepid is going to do only 3 central US servers for phase 1 while there's been over 100,000 keys sold via 250 pack since server cap is 3K? Well, we don't know. I mean, and again, I think that was just something they said they can spin up more servers, which I personally think they're going to need way more than 3 servers. I think they're going to need like 15 personally. But I think they're just trying to be, limiting as they can, right? Because of course those servers cost money, right? So I don't think they want to just, put up all these servers and everything like that. And they're just trying to get as much of the people in there as possible. Yeah, they want to save money, and they should save money. They should. I don't think they just start blowing their load, just opening all these servers for nothing, right? Because in my personal opinion, I think by the end of November, there's going to be probably less than I would be shocked if there's 50,000 people testing in Ashes of Creation by the end of November. Personally. I think more realistically, it's going to be like 20,000. That's more of a realistic number. But optimistically, if we have 50,000 people still testing at the end of November, that's shocking. So, and then you can kind of split that up, right? If they're having 3,000 players per server, and then you think of worldwide, right? Which I think they're going to have European servers and US servers. You see October 25th, there will be hours queue time. I hope, not saying I hope, but what I hope happens is that there's a priority queue for streamers. I think that would be really, really good, because what always gets to me is, it's just, being in queue for 4 hours. You know what I mean? As someone who's trying to stream and advertise the game, and you're just, and again, I know everybody that's going to stream Ashes of Creation can't have priority queue, but I think, especially if you've been a content creator for a while, I've been making content for this game since 2021. So I think there should be, priority queue for, so that way, at least, hey, if you're in a queue, you can at least watch somebody fucking play the game, right? Not all 100,000 will be concurrently on, but yeah, I would expect queues. Yeah, I think queues are going to be inevitable, personally. Let me see, does each phase of Alpha 2 have a wipe? The class I want to try is at the start, but the race isn't. So Margaret and Steven both said that a wipe isn't, they're going to try not to wipe, but honestly, just this is what I would tell you. Especially when in the form of testing, don't get attached to anything. In things like this, shit's gonna get updated and broken, and there's gonna be things, hot fixes that they'll be like, hey, we can't actually hot fix this, we're gonna have to send a patch, so you're gonna have to get out of the client, download the patch, and when you go in, fresh characters, guys. We had something that was going on that we couldn't have persist with the current set of characters you guys had. Again, and this is why I said, if you are wanting to test, have a server where it's a very natural testing server, right? Where you're going to quest naturally, level naturally, gather naturally, do everything in the game naturally, but also have another server where shit is very quick. You can, if you want to go and just test your class and combat and stuff like that, I think you should have a server that you don't even have to level quickly, but just have it be, you start off at level 25. Any character you make is level 25. You can go and test all the professions. You have vendors there that you can go and test all the professions however way you want. I think that's totally fine. I think that should happen, honestly, in tests. They should absolutely wipe between phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. It just depends. You know what I mean? What a persistent server is the fact that there isn't wipes, right? Your character persists throughout the phases. But I will tell you that persistence is going to be a very hard thing for Intrepid to do, based off of fixing major underlining foundational bugs, which could happen. So I'm not going to get attached to any of my characters. So it just is what it is. Not to be dismissive. I just think there is a lot of stuff they are keeping close to their chest and isn't going to be covered yet due to priority. Probably. That ruins games. What ruins games? Just curious, Vasmar. Let me see, dude. I love that levels 25 server idea. Yeah, I mean, to me, I've tested a lot of betas in World of Warcraft, and it still astounds me that every time there was a beta, there'd be some expansions that was very easy to give testing with, because I never wanted to test at the leveling experience of an expansion. Fuck that. I'm going to go through that day one. I don't need to do that. What I want to test is the new abilities, the new talents, Like all the combat stuff, the talent trees, the structure of them, that was my bread and butter. That's the shit I want to give feedback on. So for you as a tester, if you can start testing the thing that you're very passionately wanting to test immediately on day 1, minute 1, why the fuck not? You know, like that's just my opinion. And again, it's a test server. Who cares if everyone's level 25? Like, it's testing. We're here to test. We're not here to play a game. We're here to test. Fast servers. Fast servers ruins games. Yeah, I agree with you. But we're not here to play a server. We're here to test them. This is not a game to play yet, like Grumpy said. So it's not ruining anything. What would ruin most people's testing experience is if you are passionate about talent trees and doing all this stuff, and then you had to level and PvP is not turned off and you have to go through and doing all this other stuff, you're having to do things that you don't want to test to get to the thing that you want to test. That is the difference here, right? So if you can give testers the tools needed to test the things they want to test, why not? And there's going to be plenty of people that are going to want to test a natural gaming experience, right? Start from level 1, quest naturally, do the stuff naturally. But for me personally, like, I don't give a shit about that. I want to test combat. I want to test abilities. I want to test interactions of abilities. I want to test group composition. All the stuff I want to test has nothing to do with questing or leveling or anything like that. Like, that's what I want to test. So I think giving people those kinds of things is very, very good. What about all the stuff you have to test while leveling? Well, and that's what other people are there to test for. Like, again, like, why should I have to test something I don't want to test? Like, and again, there's some games that offer different servers to do the thing. Like, this is like the testing server for professions. If you want to go there, all you're going to do is test professions all day. Now, I don't know if that's going to be good for Intrepid to do something like that. Again, I want them to save money where they can, but if they can at least give like players a tool, like, or just a whole other server, right, where this is like a very much like a play test server for, you know, you being level 25, you can test all professions, or you can just do stuff at a very rapid rate. Why not? Like, why not? Like, we keep our characters and stuff, but as races are introduced, we'll be able to spend race change tokens to change our Kaler to Vec to newly released races. Thoughts? So me personally, I don't care. If like, I want to play a Renkai. That's Renkai and Tolnar are probably the two races that I really, really want to test. Vlhadus is like a close third, if not a second. But what Intrepid could just easily give people an option for whatever their main character is to do like a race change. Like, they can put something in the back end to just be like, hey, you can race, like, whenever there's a new race to come out, you can race change it if you want to. Like, I don't, again, it's a test. Like, I don't want people to get so attached to test characters. That's what they are. They're just test characters. They're just blank canvases for you to test the meats and bones of this game. Let me see. We keep our character. Oh yeah, sorry, I read that. If people just play how they would normally, is giving them information / feedback in the data they gather it from. And again, if that's how you want to test, awesome. But I think there's a lot of players that don't want to test that way. Like, and I think both are valid. I think people that want to go in and naturally test the game, fine, is a valid way to test. And I think that people that just want to test a very specific facet of this game because that's where their passion is also valid too. And again, Intrepid could just come out and be like, nope, we're not doing that. Every server is going to be a naturally testing server. Then fine. Okay. Like, then people will just make do. Right. But I also feel like as well, there will be some players that just won't test because that's not what they want to test. Right. So even though they did buy the key or whatever, now they're just like kind of SOL. And now we have less testers. When if you just gave them the tools, we could have had really good feedback from these kind of players if they didn't need to do the things they didn't want to do. You see, about the fast servers, I worry about creating a context of feedback that is super unrepresentative of the game. So like if you have a bunch of people who are completely skip the leveling process so they can test max level, profession, etc., do you think that there's a good way to make sure people who want to give focused feedback still have that context? Like they get a token to max out characters on a fast server once they max out. Sorry, this is an area I'm pretty ignorant in, so shoot in the dark here. So I think if again, what Intrepid wants to get feedback on are systems. Leveling is a system of feedback, right? So you're going to go and give your feedback on your thoughts on how leveling are. If you created a server where everybody's level 25, you can't give feedback on leveling. But because, again, the amount of people that I've talked to that have tested games, there's some people that just test certain facets of a game. They don't want to test every single facet of the game. And even if you force them to, they're probably not going to give you feedback on those things that they're not passionate about. So you're not going to get that feedback, I think, regardless. So if you give them a fast server, you're going to get the feedback on the things they're passionate about, but they're not going to give you feedback on anything that isn't what they tested. And if you make them go on a server where everybody has to do everything naturally, they're probably not going to leave feedback on leveling or anything else because that's just something they're not passionate about. Like if they just want to give you feedback on professions, that's what they want to give you feedback on, because they feel like, well, there's other testers here that are more passionate probably on the leveling process or about whatever, and their feedback's probably going to be better than mine because my main focus and my main passion when it comes to MMORPGs is this, right? So that's what I'm basically talking about. If I'm into animal husbandry, is there an icon or something when looking at an animal for their sex for breeding? Well, we have, like I said, we haven't even got into like the animal husbandry side of the gameplay side of things. Wolf, I am sure there's going to be indicators for when you're trying to hunt an animal or tame an animal. There will definitely be like a level indicator, a sex indicator, like all that kind of stuff, right? I wouldn't doubt it. But isn't like race changes would have much barring over the game anyways? Maybe it would only be allowed during testing, but never near live. No, I'm just talking testing. I don't know if they should even do anything regarding race swaps for the actual game. I don't think Intrepid is going to do anything like that. But again, because these races are being rolled out in these kind of phases, if you don't like being a Kalar, because I think, what is it, Kalar? Oh my God, what was in phase 1 again? I completely don't remember. Someone sent me the, here we go. Vec, Kalar, and Empyrean. So if you don't like Vec, Kalar, and Empyrean, then you're kind of just, you're kind of SOL. How dare you not want to be the best race? Let me see. Just don't assume the animal's gender. Oh my God. I thought the idea of this game was that the journey, leveling included, is the game, not a race to end game content. Wouldn't that mean the level 7 experience has some content loops or similar enough ones that level 25 or 30 would? Well, we're not talking in the sense of the realistic gameplay loops for testing. We're talking people that are only interested in testing certain aspects of this game. We keep saying that this is not a game we're trying to play here, right? So why are people wanting them to play a game? If this is all about testing, then I think Intrepid should give tools for people to test the things they want to test. If they want to test the leveling experience, absolutely, like go and test the leveling experience. But if they want to test professions, having a server where you have to naturally go and gather all the resources and do everything naturally is definitely an option you can give them. But having another option where you can have a vendor have all the gatherables, all the recipes there, and they can give you feedback on specific recipe patterns, or, you know, oh, this recipe doesn't work, or this recipe would work better if it was changed in this aspect. Like, again, that's what those people are passionate about doing. So we're not here to play a game, like we said, we're here to test. So why are we trying to force people to play this game when it's not meant to be played? So that's all I'm trying to say. Not trying to be argumentative, just wondering. No, absolutely. Like I'm just trying to explain my side. I wonder about the stock exchange. It might be a long shot, but my question would be, is there a limit to how many shares you can buy, and does other players can affect the price, or is it only based off of what is happening in the world? I will put that question down. Honestly, I just feel like stock exchange and stock market, it's so far out there. Like, and I think we're way too far away from that. Empyrean was debatable. Well, I mean, I think out of the three, I probably would be Empyrean. Like out of phase one, because I hate being human. The Vec, it just doesn't interest me. So I'll be an elf. Okay, that's fine. I really want a character creator. I think that was probably the biggest disappointment for me, is I really wanted to play with the character creator before I went live. But, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, like I said, it's a long shot. I know. We shall see. Vlad, what's the race you are trying to be? I want to be Renkai. So there's three choices I've always had in my head. Renkai, Tolnar, or Veyloon. Veyloon has been slowly winning me. I love the Jhin influence. I think the Jhin influence is really cool. I don't know if there's going to be a way for you to either be if you can be the Jhin whenever you want, or one of my friends was basically saying like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if it was based off of time of day? Like if during the daytime, like you're your natural like Veyloon self, but then at nighttime, like as the sun goes down, then you transform into the Jhin. Like I thought that was actually really cool, right? So like basically you have like a night and day like difference, right? So you basically can see like the day version of yourself and the night version of yourself. Let me see. Is character creator coming out prior to A2 off the table? Last I heard, it would be prior to the start. No. So Steven was very clear that it is not going to come out before Alpha 2. So if you will play with the character, you will be able to play with the character creator on October 25th. Let me see. Can we level all the professions to max, or we need to choose what we want to max? So you'll be able to max out 2. I think I have a chart for that as well. Where is it? Right here. So, let me go up here real quick. So this is basically how professions are. So you'll be able to level 2 max level professions, and you'll be able to have another profession, but only up to master. And then you'll have another profession that you can have up to journeyman, and then you can have another profession up to apprentice. And then you can have all of them, all 21 professions, up to novice from level 1, I think, to level 10. So this is basically 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So just, you know, for people that are interested in professions. Before, I think it was you only could Grandmaster 1. And I think Steven then said, oh, we just kind of made the decision for you to do 2. So this is the current way of how professions will work. Like if you wanted to go all out on professions, right? So then you can basically go into armor smithing and weapon smithing to max, and then you can have a third into master, and then kind of go into there. Thanks, that's amazing. Make people interact with each other. Absolutely. And because of how many professions there are going to be, you're going to definitely need to interact with people. And because of the recipe resource that are going to be in Ashes, and a lot of them are going to be potentially random and or acquired in very potentially like hard circumstances, you might need to know multiple armor smiths at max level, because one armor smith, they have a certain recipe that another armor smith doesn't have, right? So there's still going to be a need, even at the max levels, to interact with certain ones because they don't have it all, right? This isn't like World of Warcraft where all professions are basically the same kind of thing. So that's how that works. Okay. There were some other questions. It's like, God, I have so many questions, but then when I put my mind and I'm thinking, okay, what are these questions that I have? Like, I can't spit them out. Is the leveling experience still going to be long, i.e. about a like, I just kind of hope that the leveling experience is I'd say a little bit longer than classic World of Warcraft. Like, classic World of Warcraft, I think, has a really nice pacing to it. But I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit slower, because I remember even playing classic WoW like 4 to 6 hours a day. It still took me almost like a month. Like, I think anything is better than leveling to max level in a single day. Anything is better than that. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm just wondering if maybe internally they changed, like, because maybe now, like, they just say, oh yeah, well, we thought about it and a month and a half is too long, so we're going to try to approach it with, like, you know, going from 1 to max level in like 2 weeks. I still think 2 weeks is actually way better than a lot of these MMOs do currently, because currently, like I said, you can just level from 1 to max in a day or 2 days at most. If leveling is slower, then the grind must be worth it. Well, exactly, right? Because I think if you just arbitrarily just inflate these numbers to great degrees, that isn't going to make it feel worth it if it doesn't feel meaningful, right? So, like, but it's like, how do you inject meaning into leveling, right? Like, yes, you want to make the leveling longer, but what activities are you doing that is forcing those challenges on people, that is like making those little stop gaps or formulating plans to be like, hey, we got to go tackle this thing, but it's really hard. Like, most leveling experiences are just very cannon fodder-ish, right? So a lot of people don't really, there's not much thinking to leveling nowadays. It's so brain dead that you just go and do the quests and you do them, and it just takes a lot of time, right? So some of the leveling pace will be set by node level. The nodes leveling up offers higher level mobs and higher level content. Yeah, I mean, it could, but I think there are going to be mobs that are going to be static that will never change their levels. Because if you just spawned into Ashes of Creation 6 months after the launch and you're a brand new player, should you be surrounded by level 40 mobs? Like, as a level 1? I think not, right? So even if, like, you go into a level 6 Metropolis, like, there is going to be monsters that are going to be far above you as level 1, but there should still be like level 1, level 3, level 5 monsters. Like, you still need to provide a leveling experience, not just at the launch, but post launch too. No, but also every node won't be level 40. Some nodes will always be 0 or 1. Potentially. Like I said, with the Vaseline, you're going to lock other nodes from being able to level further. But if you're talking about the starting level experiences, right? The nodes closest to the starting level, like I think monsters should be added, not transforming the monsters that are there into higher level monsters because the node leveled, right? All I'm saying is you got to still provide a way for people to level, like post launch, is what I'm saying. So, My brain is just like, can't think right now. I'm sure as soon as I'm not live, I'm going to be popping all the questions in and just being like, oh my God, yeah, this question, that question. Because I know I had questions about augments, but I can't think of anything specific. I can't think. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I had a really great time talking with you guys. And again, I said this yesterday, or I said it on Friday. I'll say it again. If you guys have any questions that you think of later, just like myself, I can't think of anything right now. You can always go into my Discord, my Vlhadus Gaming Discord, go into the general tab, and you can leave your questions there. Fupo, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I it's Sunday. I'm going to spend some time. We're going to watch some TV with the wife. But yeah, go, Team Vanguard all the way. Absolutely. God, that's a question. Can we change the tank name to Vanguard? Thank you so much. That is a great question asked, Steven. Team Vanguard, dude. Team Vanguard. But yes, if you have the question, you can always go into my Discord, leave the question in there at me. So that way I don't forget it and I can put it down. You can also private message me. If you don't want to join the Discord, you can just private message me and I'll add it there too. But thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys later. Is there anybody streaming in the Ashes category right now? Or am I the only lonesome duck streaming stuff? I don't see anyone else. Oh, wait, it's a trap. Steven said if he got more of that feedback, he changed the tank logo to Abrams. Oh, God. You're going to get pissed off Jamie with that question? Oh, absolutely. And who doesn't enjoy getting Jamie mad? Come on now. That's like the whole shtick of his streams. Yeah, I guess I don't really see anybody live. Guys, you have a great Sunday. Be safe, make good decisions, and I will see you hopefully soon. Maybe make my face big. I'll hopefully see you guys soon sometime this week. So if you're not following my Vlhadus Gaming Twitch, hit that heart. It'll keep you up to date anytime I go live. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. You can always hit the subscribe button, keep you up to date anytime I go live on YouTube as well. Thank you guys so much. You have yourself a great night, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, guys. Oh, Dante, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much. Did you see the baby? I said yes, I did, Anton. Thank you so much, man. That was a really funny. That was really, really funny. Thank you so much, man. I'll see you guys later. Have a great night.